The little girl stood hesitantly at the entrance of the towering office building, her small frame dwarfed by the tall glass doors that gleamed under the morning sun. She held tightly to a small, worn-out stuffed rabbit whose fur was matted and patches of threadbare fabric showed years of love and care. Her wide eyes darted around the spacious lobby as she waited nervously, unsure of what to do next. The polished marble floor reflected the bright lights from above, and the murmur of people in business. Suits walking briskly made her feel even more out of place. She had never been here before, and this place was so different from her quiet neighborhood and the cozy home where she lived with her mother. Inside the elevator, the girl clutched the toy. To her chest, the buttons lighting up as the elevator ascended past many floors. Her heart beat faster with every ding as she wondered how long it would take for the man she was about to see to listen to her. She was told by her teacher that he was a very important man, and that he could help if she told him about her mother's sickness. The thought made her both hopeful and scared, because she did not know if he would believe her or if he would be too busy to care. When the elevator doors slid open on the top floor, the little girl stepped out into a hallway that smelled faintly of leather and fresh paper. The walls were lined with expensive paintings and photos of people shaking hands or standing proudly in front of tall buildings. She walked slowly, trying not to make a sound, but every step echoed in the quiet corridor. At the end of the hall was a large door made of dark wood with a golden handle. The girl took a deep breath and then turned the knob gently. The door opened with a soft creak, and she found herself face to face with a man sitting behind a huge desk cluttered with papers and a computer. The man looked up surprised by the unexpected visitor. His eyes softened when he saw her small, worried face, and the way she hugged the stuffed rabbit tightly. The little girl hesitated for a moment before speaking. Her voice was barely above a whisper as she said, "Mom's sick. I don't know what to do." She looked up at the man with big, pleading eyes, hoping he would understand how serious it was. The man leaned forward, resting his elbows on the desk, and smiled kindly. He asked her to sit down on a chair nearby, though she was not sure if she should stay or run away. She sat quietly, clutching her toy, and tried to explain everything as best as she could. Her mother had been coughing a lot and losing weight. The doctor said it was something serious, but they had no money to pay for medicine or hospital visits. She worried about her mother being alone and scared, and about what would happen if she lost her job and they lost their home. The girl didn't know much about business or money, but she knew that this man could somehow help them because she had heard the grown-ups talk about him on the news and at school. The CEO listened carefully without interrupting. His expression was serious but gentle, and he asked questions to understand more about the situation. He wanted to know if the mother had any insurance or if there was anyone else who could help. She shook her head and said no. It was just her and her mom. He made a note on his computer and promised her that he would do whatever he could to help her mother get the care she needed. The little girl's eyes filled with tears of relief. For the first time since she arrived, she smiled shyly and thanked the man with all the hope she could muster in her small voice. The CEO stood up and walked around the desk to kneel beside her. He told her that she was very brave for coming to him, and that everything would be all right. He asked her to come back later with her mother so they could meet and talk more about how to help. As the little girl left the office, she felt lighter, like a heavy burden had been lifted from her heart. She held her stuffed rabbit close and skipped down the hallway with a new sense of hope. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but for the first time she believed that things might get better. The man in the big office had listened to her and cared, and that was the start of something good. The CEO sat back down at his desk after the little girl left the room. His mind raced with thoughts about what he had just heard. He looked at the notes on his computer screen. The words, "Mom sick and no money kept," replaying in his head. He knew that he had to act quickly because time was precious and the situation was urgent. He reached for his phone and called his assistant, who answered on the first ring. He explained in a calm but firm voice that there was an emergency and that immediate action was needed. The assistant listened carefully, taking down every detail, and promised to coordinate with the medical team and the company's human resources department. Within minutes, the CEO had contacted the best doctors in the city, arranging for a private hospital to be ready for the mother. He also instructed the human resources manager to investigate the woman's employment situation, making sure that her job was protected during her illness. The company had programs for employee assistance, but he decided to go beyond that. Because this was not just a case, it was a human life at stake. The CEO personally arranged for the medical bills to be covered by a special fund and asked the staff to keep everything confidential to protect the family's privacy. Meanwhile, the little girl waited anxiously outside the office in a quiet corner of the hallway. She felt a mixture of hope and fear. Her heart pounded as she wondered if the man had truly understood her problem, or if she would have to find another way to help her mother. She looked at her stuffed rabbit and whispered a small prayer, asking for strength and courage. Just then, her mother appeared at the end of the hall, her face pale and eyes tired but relieved to see her daughter safe and calm. The little girl ran to her and hugged her tightly, trying to hide her own worry behind a brave smile. The mother was hesitant to enter the office, but her daughter insisted that this man could help. Her footsteps were slow and uncertain as she approached the large door. The CEO greeted her warmly, standing up to shake her hand and inviting her to sit. The mother looked around nervously, unsure of what to expect. She explained her symptoms and the difficulties she had faced trying to get treatment without losing her job. The CEO listened patiently, asking questions about her work hours and insurance coverage. She answered honestly, admitting that she had no insurance and was afraid to tell her employer about her condition. The CEO assured her that her job would be safe and that the company would provide support during her recovery. He introduced her to a company nurse who would check on her regularly and help coordinate her appointments. The mother felt a glimmer of hope for the first time in many weeks. She thanked the CEO with tears in her eyes, saying that she never imagined someone so important would take the time to care. Over the next few days, the CEO stayed involved. Closely monitoring the situation, he visited the hospital to see how the mother was doing and spoke with the doctors about her treatment plan. He also sent messages to the little girl encouraging her to stay strong and reminding her that she was not alone. The company employees heard about the story through internal channels, and many offered their support, sending cards and messages of encouragement. The atmosphere at work changed as people realized that behind the suits and offices there were real lives and struggles. The mother gradually regained her strength and began to smile again. The little girl continued to visit the hospital, bringing drawings and stories to cheer her up. The CEO made sure that the family had everything they needed, including food transportation and emotional support. The community rallied around them, inspired by the kindness and generosity shown by the CEO and his company. What started as a quiet visit from a worried child became a story of compassion and humanity. The CEO's actions not only saved a life, but also reminded everyone that success is not measured by profits alone, but by the difference one can make in the lives of others. The mother eventually returned to work healthy and grateful, and the little girl learned that sometimes courage and hope can open even the biggest doors. As the days turned into weeks, the mother slowly regained her health with the help of the doctors and the unwavering support from the CEO and his team. The little girl watched with wide, hopeful eyes as her mother grew stronger each day. Their visits to the hospital became moments filled with laughter and stories despite the challenges they faced. The CEO remained deeply involved, checking in regularly and ensuring that the family had whatever they needed. Back at the company, the story of the little girl's courage and the CEO's kindness spread quickly, inspiring many employees to reflect on the importance of empathy and community. The CEO decided to launch a new program within the company dedicated to helping employees and their families during times of crisis. He wanted to create a culture where no one would feel alone when facing difficult situations. The program provided financial aid, counseling, and emotional support, making sure help was always available when needed. One afternoon, the little girl returned to the office clutching a handmade card decorated with bright colors and simple drawings. She shyly approached the CEO's desk and handed him the card. Her smile was small, but filled with gratitude. The CEO knelt down to her level and thanked her warmly, telling her that her bravery had touched many hearts. He encouraged her to keep being strong and reminded her that she and her mother were always part of the company's family. The mother returned to work with a renewed spirit. Her colleagues welcomed her back with kindness and respect, and the support system put in place helped her balance.